Welcome back to the 2008 OPC National Championships from Kankakee, Illinois. The SST 120s will be up next, running for a national title of their own. This is the largest tunnel boat class anywhere in the world. But first, let's take a look at the class specs. The SST 120s, they all run 122 cubic inch outboard motors, 16 feet in length, 1,025 pounds. That's their minimum weight. Speeds approaching 110 miles per hour. And as all the boats are along the shoreline awaiting their Le Mans style start, we had a chance to talk to the man on the pole, that's Chris Shepard, about the advantages of starting at a lane number one.
The start is probably the most important thing because the boats are so equal and the drivers are so good that unless somebody makes a mistake, it's hard to get around them.
So a chance to hear from Chris Shepard, starting from the pole here, one of 18 drivers in the SST 120 class. Your defending national champion, Glenn Matthews, not a part of the lineup as we await starters' orders. Again, a modified Le Mans start, meaning the engines are shut off. So everybody awaits the green flag and we're off racing. And Dave, it'll only take the SST 120 6 seconds to get up to 100 miles per hour and now full flight down the back straightaway. So Chris Shepard will lead the charge as we go on board with Jose Mendana Jr., who just won a national title in the SST 45 class. But the first thing you notice here, Dave, these SST 120 boats much quicker than the 45s or the 60s we saw earlier.
Well, yeah, that makes a big difference on the starts too, because these things will hit over 100 miles an hour. So if you delay just a half a second to a second, that could put you back farther in the pack on that start. We saw with Mendana, he didn't get the best start. He had a delay, had a little problem there. But hey, these things at 100 miles an hour, there is no chance to make mistakes. They got the relatively smooth water. We got one lap under, but as these laps go on, we're going to get into lap traffic. It's really going to get rough, and at these speeds, that's where the driver's experience is really going to come into play.
30 laps for the SST 120s, one of the fastest turning vehicles in all of motorsports. These guys can peak out at about 115 miles per hour along the straightaways, and look at Chris Shepard just air out his tunnel boat along the front stretch now. So Shepard in command of this race, and he's trying to go for his first ever national championship. He's trying to hold off the field. Jim Summers will settle into second, and then Jay Fox in that third spot as we focus in now on Chris Shepard. And it's so important, again, just like the other classes, Dave, to get a good start right off the bat, because if you're not, visibility's poor, the rough water comes into play. And earlier we had a chance to talk to Jose Mendana Jr., who laid out a strategy for racing in the 120 class.
Going to be key points, going to be coming off that line, kind of stick on his tail and get through the lap traffic, use that rough water, see what magic we have.
Well, Mendana, Ian, hit the head right on the nail. You know, avoiding the rough water is important for all the drivers out there because, you know, you really have to look a lot farther. Over 100 miles an hour, things happen. You got to react in a split second out there. It's got to be almost second nature. You have to react without thinking.
Jay Fox in that third position, now trying to battle Jim Summers for second. So Fox, just 30 years of age. He began his boat racing career at the age of 9 in the stock category from Bay City, Michigan. As we focus in now on Jose Mendana Jr., he's back in 9th, Dave, so not finding the same success here in the 120 class as he had in the 45 class. And he's one of the few guys who's making the jump from SST 45 racing into SST 120 racing. And Jay Fox, who's back in 3rd, told us earlier about running for his first ever national championship in the SST 120 class.
Kankakee's toward the end of our racing year, so starting out the year, it's always on our schedule coming in here to Great Kankakee and to try to focus in on getting to the top of your game by the time we get here. So I think I got as good a shot as anyone for that would be my first national title in 120. I've won here before in 45, so I'm just trying to repeat in the bigger class.
Well, Ian, Jay Fox, a multinational champion in the SST 45s, and you talked about earlier that Mendana was running the 45s and the 120s. Splitting his focus could be a little bit of the problem out there for him. These speeds are a lot greater than running the SST 45s. I mean, now we're over 100 miles an hour, and your reaction times hasn't quite set up for that. So, you know, you can see that Fox, with his concentration only on the 120s, that could be paying off for him.
And Jay Fox from Bay City, Michigan, the home of the famous Bay City River Roar, back there in that 3rd spot, trying to track down Jim Summers from Overland, Kansas, who's in his 15th year of racing as we go on board with Jose Mendana Jr. And you also have to figure maybe some fatigue. 45 laps in the SST 45 main event, and now 30 laps in the SST 120 class. So not only is he racing the most laps of any competitor out here, but also different speeds, different setups. The SST 45 class speeds in the mid-60s. In this class, you're well over 100 miles per hour for a majority of the race. We're about a third the way through this main event for SST 120 as Chris Shepard continues to lead it. Everybody else trying to pursue our leaders. Stay with us as we'll have more of the OPC Nationals right here from Kankakee, Illinois. Welcome back to Kankakee, Illinois, and coverage of the 2008 OPC National Championships. The fans, as they have done every year here at Kankakee, gathering for these national championship powerboat races as we come back to more of our SST 120 main event. And Chris Shepard now in the throes of lap traffic. So Shepard having to negotiate his way through the traffic. And Dave, this is where the race really begins for all these competitors, because Shepard at this point has gone unimpeded, hasn't been challenged, but he can be reined in now by Jim Summers, who's in second, and then Jay Fox back there in third. This is where they're going to make up some ground.
Well, you know, that's what I always say is when you get close to that halfway point, that's when the race really starts. That's where your mechanical comes into play, and that's where the boat traffic that we talked about. Boats can get in your way, the wakes get in your way, you get that back slap, everything's coming across, and you know, a lot of spray to work with and negotiate, and that could allow someone to sneak up on you. You don't even know it.
Jose Mendana Jr. back in that 9th spot here in the SST 120 class, and you can see things not quite going his way here in this main event on the heels of winning and defending his national title in the smaller SST 45 class. He's just trying to stay in the top 10 here.
Well, you can see with Mendana in his lines, and he came in, he tried to go tight again there. That was what he was doing in the SST 45s. That can cause a little problems in these higher speed boats here. You can't get that momentum up.
And a look at our leader, Chris Shepard, along the front stretch. And earlier we had a chance to talk to him about running here at Kankakee for his first ever national championship in SST 120.
It's a pretty big deal. You know, it's a national championship. It gives you a shot at the Hall of Champions. You know, normally I run about 3 or 4 classes here, and this year I want the 121 so bad that I'm just focusing on that class.
So a chance to listen to Chris there, Dave. As he mentioned, he's thrown his eggs into one basket, being the SST 120 class this year. In years past, he's raced in a variety of classes, but like many competitors, he's specializing now. That means competing in just one class, so his focus isn't diverted, and that's on winning a national championship here in SST 120.
Well, if you're looking to win a championship, that's the only way, as far as I'm concerned, that you could do it. You got to focus on what you're doing at that time. You start thinking about other stuff. We talked about with Mendana. He's you know, racing the 45s. There's a lot of laps out there. Fatigue could be a problem. And jumping up these higher speeds with some of these drivers could be a problem too. So I think focusing on one class can get you a national championship.
And a good look at Jeff Reno along the front stretch and a side-by-side duel. Reno in that number 34 machine. We saw his wife Carol competing in the SST 60 class, so definitely a family affair out here for the Reno clan. Meanwhile, Chris Shepard, he's gone unimpeded up to this point, started from the pole, won the earlier qualifying, and he's putting lap after lap on the board here, Dave, and quality consistent laps as well, staying to the inside. But again, lap traffic constantly will be an issue for Chris Shepard. He really hasn't been challenged at this point as we pan back to Jim Summers back in second, and it looks like his lead is now starting to grow as Jay Fox now makes the turn. He's back in third through the bottom turns.
Well, I do believe it's causing Shepard to change his lines up. He got in the lap traffic right now. He's trying to avoid those wakes, so he's going to have to change things up just a little bit.
Jim Summers running second behind Chris Shepard, and earlier we talked to the 15-year racing veteran on what he likes about competing here at Kankakee.
It is narrow, it looks narrow, but I'll tell you what, believe it or not, this is a really awesome race site here. It's a little tight getting down through there. You got to definitely make sure you concentrate, get your boat set so you don't run into anybody. But yeah, it's a little tight, but it's an awesome race course out here.
And with this being a little bit tighter river than most of them are used to running, it can cause little problems. They got to get their lines. They got to make sure that they're make those turns, and otherwise you can end up on the shore, and that's not a good thing for you to finish a race.
And we focus in on our leader, Chris Shepard. Hasn't been challenged up to this point. Jim Summers still behind in second. Jay Fox back there in third. As we go on board again with Jose Mendana Jr. Great perspective of the Kankakee River here and the challenges of competing in SST 120 racing. And Mendana, he's been the Ironman, Dave. 45 laps in the SST 45 class en route to defending his national championship, not having the same results out here so far in SST 120, back there in that 9th position, and now he's in danger of being lapped by Chris Shepard, who's working to the inside part of the race course. So Shepard now trying to get past Jose Mendana Jr., and this is where your spotters and race communication along the sidelines becomes very important, Dave, because they basically are your eyes and your ears along the shoreline.
I can tell you right now that Summers and Fox are both looking to hopefully capitalize on some lap traffic right now. But But Shepard, he's running smart. He's staying out of the wakes, and that's what you want to do. You want to try and stay in the cleanest water you can. Stay out of those rooster tails so your visibility gets messed up. You also want to try and find the smoothest line around.
On board we go with Jose Mendana Jr. in that 9th spot in a battle of his own for 8th as he goes through the spray. So Mendana also trying to find the quickest lines on this race course, as is our leader Chris Shepard in the throes of lab traffic, 2/3 the way through our national championship race here in 120s, and we'll be back with the conclusion right after this. Coverage of the OPC Nationals has been made possible by Provena St. Mary's Hospital, by KCC, by the Great Lakes Boat Club, and by the American Powerboat Association.